And in business news, India's economy rebounding in the third quarter, roughly in line with expectations. Increased government spending offsetting a stubborn weakness in consumption. GDP grew 6.2% in the 3 months to December compared to the same period last year. The reading also coming in well above the revised 5.6% growth recorded in the previous quarter. While growth has rebounded, it's still below the 8% pace expected to create enough well-paying jobs and generate economic prosperity. Meanwhile, the government raising its full-year growth forecast slightly. It now estimates the economy will grow 6.5% in the year ending March 31st this year. That's against the previous projection of 6.4%. And more, Rebecca Bundhun joins us live from Mumbai. Rebecca, what drove this rebound?
Yes, that figure of 6.2% on the year is quite encouraging for the October to December quarter, because if we look at the previous quarter, that figure of 5.6% was in fact the slowest pace of growth in 7 quarters. So there are a few factors at work here driving that growth. One of the big ones is really government spending. If we look at the numbers, Indian government spending actually expanded by 8.3% in the quarter. That was up from 3.8% in the previous quarter. And what analysts say is that there was a slower pace of government spending earlier because the country held national elections earlier in the year, and that led to a delay in government spending. So we're starting to see the effects of that really coming through. There was also something of an improvement in private consumer spending compared to that previous quarter, although it's still probably not where the country would like it to be. But that was also partly driven by a pickup in terms of the rural economy, because there was a good monsoon season, which leads to improved crop production. In turn, that helps to boost rural demand and rural spending. So that was another factor here. But yes, economists do say that although these figures look to be very strong when India is talking about growth of 6.2%, a forecast of 6.5% for the full financial year, although they do look like robust numbers, India really wants to be achieving levels of around 8% growth to actually create jobs for its young population and lift people out of poverty.
Rebecca, it's not just that it needs to get to 8%. Whatever figure is reached now, however good, must be sustained as well. How confident is the Indian government that this kind of growth, this momentum, can be sustained?
Well, so for the current financial year, the government is now forecasting growth of 6.5% year to the end of March. And for the next financial year, beginning in April, in its economic survey, what it said was that the country could achieve growth of between 6.3 and 6.8%. But the challenge here as well is that there are sort of factors that have to be introduced to actually boost consumer spending, for example. Now, the government has actually been doing that in its budget for the next financial year. The Finance Ministry, in fact, announced that there would be a reduction in personal income taxes. So that's a factor that's likely to help boost consumer spending in the country, it's expected. And the RBI, India's central bank, in its last policy meeting, actually cut the interest rate, which is expected to bring the cost of borrowing down, again, for consumers, and in turn help to drive consumer demand. And India, at the end of the day, is a consumption-driven economy. The RBI has also left the door open for potentially further rate cuts this year. So that's another factor here. But we have to remember that there are a number of matters that are largely beyond India's control that could impact the economy going forward. These include President Donald Trump's tariff action, for example, which could have a massive impact on India, and also factors including volatile energy prices, which could have an effect on India's economy too.
Oh, thanks. Rebecca Bundhun then looking at what drove and what could still drive India's economy, that rebound in the third quarter, roughly in line with expectations. Rebecca Bundhun joining us live there from Mumbai.